A warm good morning to all the brilliant stars of Sri Gokulam Public School. Welcome to the English online class. In today's class, we are going to start with a new chapter from Snapshots. The name of the lesson is Ranga's Marriage. Ranga's Marriage. What does that title remind you of? Of course, when we hear about marriage, it brings a lot of wonderful memories to us. Marriage is almost performed as a festival in India. We associate it with a lot of colors, food, and enjoyment. It is a time when all the friends and relatives join together and have a gala time. So here we are going to discuss about Ranga's marriage. What does the chapter hold in for us? Is it speaking about a similar kind of a celebration and memories of people coming together and spending time? Or is it about something else? Marriage in India again is associated with arranged marriage. In today's generation, there is a whole new controversy going on about whether arranged marriages or love marriages are more successful. Of course, each one of us have got our own opinions on the topic. Ranga also has got his opinion about marriage. Let us also look into what his opinion is about marriage. So, let us quickly get into the lesson. Ranga's Marriage is a story written by a very famous Kannada writer, Masti Venkateshwara Iyengar. He is the fourth Kannada writer to receive the Jnanapeeth Award. The story is dealt with in a very humorous manner. Let's start the lesson. The narrator begins the story by expressing his expectations of the readers, wanting to know why the title of the lesson is very simple as Ranga's Marriage, and why it is not put in a very fanciful manner like Ranganatha Vivaha or Girija Kalyana. The answer to this assumed question also is given by the narrator. He says that it is because the story revolves around someone very close and dear to him, as in our Ranga. So this is the kind of a story that one can expect being told by an elderly relative over a cup of tea in evening at a family gathering. Even the plot of the story is in a very remote village area named Hosahalli. The narrator also expresses his views on the readers not able to know the place by telling that it is not the fault of the readers because the very name Hosahalli is not mentioned in the Indian maps. He also sarcastically says that Indians are like sheep who blindly follow. The English geographers did not mark the place Hosahalli when making the Indian map, and hence we Indians also followed them blindly and did not mark the place. Later, the narrator apologizes for deviating from the topic, and he says that he has got great opinion about the village Hosahalli. Of course, he supports his views by saying that it is not only his opinion that Hosahalli is a very significant place in Mysore. A doctor who lived in the village named Gundabhatta also has got the same opinion about the village Hosahalli. He says the doctor has visited many other places in India, but he expresses the views that Hosahalli is a very important place. To justify his views, he says that there are many things that is very unique to Hosahalli. One amongst them is the mangoes grown in the village. He says that the mangoes are so very sour that one bite of that mango, the sourness would go right to the top of your head. It seems that once the narrator had made a chutney out of this raw mangoes, and the entire family members had a coughing disease after this. In fact, it was only after consulting the doctor that the narrator came to understand that the uniqueness of the raw mangoes in Hosahalli. The narrator then goes on to speak very highly about his village. He says that even the leaves of the creepers that are growing near the village pond are so huge that one can serve food on those leaves. Even the flowers blooming in those creepers are also a beauty to sight. He then says that he has been speaking a lot about his village, and anyone who wants to know more about his village can definitely contact him and visit the place to know more about Hosahalli. After describing in detail about his village, the narrator then speaks about an incident that happened in their village almost 10 years ago. During that time, English was not widely known or spoken in their village. In fact, many people did not even send their children to study in big cities like Bangalore. He justifies this with an experience that he had while he was in Rama Rao's house. A poor woman had come to Rama Rao's house to sell firewood, and after collecting the bundle of firewood from the woman, Rama Rao's son came to pay the lady. But when he checked the money, he found that he did not have the exact change, so he told the woman that she can come the next day to collect the change. The poor woman did not understand the meaning of the word change, and he thought that the son was insulting her, and so she left the place murmuring and expressing her anger. In fact, the narrator who was witnessing all this also could not understand the meaning of the word change. It was only after the narrator consulted Ranga that he understood the meaning of it. Since English was not very common in their village, Ranga's homecoming after pursuing his studies in Bangalore was considered as a great event by the villagers. The entire villagers had crowded in front of his house to see what tremendous changes had taken place in Ranga after studying in a big city and learning a foreign language like English. Following the crowd, the narrator also had reached in front of Ranga's house. However, the narrator tried to exhibit his extra knowledge and superiority by teasing the villagers for gathering in front of Ranga's house as if there was a monkey performing in his house. But the narrator was put into place by a young boy when he said that the narrator was also following the crowd. The narrator then says that the young boy had behaved in a very immature manner for pointing out the truth. Finally, the narrator came out of his house and smiled at the villagers. The villagers noticed that there was no change in. At this point, the narrator is reminded of the tragedy of Black Hole at Calcutta. However, the villagers were surprised to find that staying in Bangalore for 6 months had not caused any changes in Ranga. An old lady came forward and checked him and found that even his sacred thread, Jnanvera, was still lying on him. The lady was relieved to find that he has not followed or copied Western culture and still remains very Indian in his manners. The other villagers also noticed that there was no changes in Ranga and he was behaving just like before. Soon the crowd dispersed, but the narrator stayed. On seeing the narrator, Ranga came forward and greeted him with full respect in a traditional manner. The narrator was greatly impressed by the manner he was greeted by Ranga. Ranga had bent down to touch the narrator's feet and take his blessings as in a greeting. The narrator says that the new generation had stopped following this culture and they had very disturbing manners for greeting elders. The narrator then blesses Ranga with full happiness by saying, "May you get married soon." Now that is a very funny kind of a blessing to give, isn't it? So let's check what happens after this. Is Ranga able to get married very soon? And how is the marriage taking place? We will discuss all these things in our next class. We are concluding today's class and I hope all of you will read the textbook thoroughly. It is very important that you should read the textbook thoroughly and write down your notes. Attempt the test paper attached. Till we meet again in our next class, I wish all of you have a great and a wonderful day. Thank you.